Now, one of our significant concerns, and James alluded to it, is based on what we've seen play out in countries that have already redefined marriage, countries like Canada and the UK and the US. And it's a change to sex education in our schools and the restrictions on parental authority to influence what is taught. Now, the Safe Schools Coalition program is case in point. If marriage is redefined to allow same-sex unions to be legalised, then our ability as parents to object to same-sex and radical gender ideology being taught to children will be removed. Sadly, there is material being presented to high school students in this state, my own children included, that has the same ideological base and has come out of La Trobe Uni from the same author as the Same Schools program, and without the knowledge of parents. I found out afterwards. Now, there is a Tasmanian mum who wants to tell her story, but if you've been brave enough to be looking at the media on this issue in the last couple of weeks, you'll know that it's not a safe place for mums who want to speak out and protect their children. In fact, it's a dangerous place. And so tonight I'm going to read her story. She's wanting to protect her children, so she is maintaining her anonymity, but I promise you she is a Tasmanian mum, and so I speak on her behalf. And she writes this: "My concerns about the Safe Schools program started in 2014. As a parent representative on the school association at our local high school, I raised my concerns at a school association meeting in November 2014. At this meeting, the principal acknowledged the need to consult with parents regarding these sensitive issues. Despite this acknowledgement, Working It Out, which was Tasmania Safe Schools Coalition partner at the time, visited our high school in late 2015 and gave a presentation to the 2015-2016 student prefects. Now, parents were not informed before this happened, and there was no opportunity given to the parents to withdraw their students from the presentation. There was no information sent home to inform parents of what had been discussed. I know about the presentation because my daughter was one of the prefects who were present. My daughter has several same-sex attracted friends, so that part of the presentation was nothing new. However, she came home very confused by the idea of gender not being determined by genitals. She also reported that her friends on the prefect board found this equally confusing. This daughter, who found the idea of gender not being determined by genitals confusing when it was first introduced to her in 2015, has now been taught gender theory as fact in 2 of the subjects that she studied in college. In as little as 2 years, she's gone from dismissing this as confusing nonsense to accepting it as true. Our children are now being taught that your biological sex is assigned at birth based on your genitals, but that your gender is fluid. The speed at which this is filtrating through the education system is alarming. Due to the normalisation of same-sex relationships, another of my daughters experimented with a same-sex relationship when she was in grade 10. This happened just before a school camp. And I knew that my daughter and her girlfriend had been placed in the same bunk room for the duration of the camp. And I asked the teacher in charge if they could please be separated. A girl-boy couple would have automatically been separated in such a situation, and yet my request was denied. It grieves me to the very core of my being that this daughter is still experimenting. She's now had at least 3 girlfriends, but with a few boyfriends in between as well. This is encouraged by our current state education system, all in the name of working it out. On a card, which this daughter received from one of her friends recently, the friend thanks my daughter for helping her realise that she's straight. This is a self-doubt that is now far too common. Since writing the above, I was speaking to one of my slightly older daughters about the fact that I'd been asked to write this testimonial. She broke down and cried. She told me how thankful she is for the fact that she had finished school before the Safe Schools program was introduced. She explained the doubts that she'd experienced at high school. She wasn't a girly girl. She wasn't into makeup. She enjoyed outdoor sports. Most of her friends were boys. She suffered hurtful comments from others, including from at least one close friend, about how boyish she was. And there was a time when she truly questioned whether it'd just be easier to be a boy. If she had encountered the Safe Schools program while she was in that state, then her confusion would have multiplied exponentially. By the grace of God, she now knows that she can be the woman that God created her to be and still enjoy the activities that are more traditionally male activities. We both praise the Lord for his grace, and we continue to pray for her younger sisters. The teenage years are renowned for being difficult years as our children transition towards adulthood. This is a time full of hormones and self-doubt. Teenagers may over-dramatise their situations, but to them the issues are huge and very real. This is a time when parents need to be there to guide their children through the maze and wait patiently for them to emerge out the other side as young adults. The Safe Schools program is eroding the ability for parents to guide their children and to offer counsel regarding their relationships. I didn't realise that my children would see their teacher's authority on subjects such as sexuality as more informed than mine. I've seen the effect that Safe Schools program has had on my children and their friends. Encouraging adolescents to question their gender and their sexuality creates more self-doubt. It erodes their sense of identity. It is not safe. It is damaging. It's a heartbreaking story coming from a Tasmanian mum.